Mike Gundy can not only control, but possibly own the Big 12 recruiting landscape with a secret formula that almost no other team in the country can even pretend to present or provide.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at AllDateOState. Today, we're partially brought to you by FanDuel. Get in on the action. Today, with FanDuel, every customer is getting a boost or a bonus every day. There's something in this for everyone every day as the summer months continue to drag on. Make sure you visit FanDuel.com to get started today. Meanwhile, we get started in the vein of Mike Gundy and recruiting and some of the evolutionary processes that we've all been able to watch. Oklahoma State does have something that most every other team in the country does not have at its disposal. But it's all about remembering. Right? Remember the 5th of November. Name that movie. November 5th, 2023. Ollie Gordon decided to pop off 137 yards. And Gundy says, yes, this is a big game for a Bedlam W. How about November 5th, 2011? Brandon Whedon, Justin Blackman, and Joe Randall take down number 17 ranked K-State, led by Colin Klein and Tyler Lockett in a 52-45 shootout on ESPN. Not only did we witness a shootout of epic proportions that would lead to the Big 12 title, it would also give us the ability to witness Kirk Herbstreit peeing his pants a little bit. We should also remember November 5th, 2006, the day after Colt McCoy dropped a cool 352 yards and 3 tutties, chilling behind Jamal Charles on us. That Mack Brown-led Texas squad knocked us around like we were virtually standing still. Bobby Reed, Darius Bowman, Keith Toston put up a valiant effort, but wasn't quite near enough. Then we pulled off a 7-win season and celebrated it like it was 1945. Do you remember when winning 7 games was the pinnacle of Cowboy football and winning Bedlam every decade or so-ish was our Super Bowl? You remember being equal parts excited beyond belief that we won 7-8 games, to then almost immediately afterwards being deathly afraid of that 8-win season because it meant we were probably going to lose half of our staff for greener pastures. You remember being so frustrated by the knowledge that we could almost never keep our good coaches because we were always kind of viewed as a jump-off school, a launching point job instead of a destination-type job. I remember thinking at one point in time that we might never beat Texas. Then we completely owned them for like 80% of the time since the Mack Brown glory days. I remember all of those epic battles in Bedlam that would always leave us a few yards short and a few beers shy of a 30-pack already gone. I also remember us slowly catching up to OU in speed, size, and the depth department. Then I watched 2021 Bedlam. I also got so physically embraced in the 2023 Bedlam experience that it's completely unforgettable. Oh, how far we have come, Cowboy Country. And Mike Gundy, he keeps doing more than enough to remind everyone of his long-standing street cred and certified G-level, a.k.a. the simple winning ways, now have so much more quantifiably tangible evidentiary proof that his pudding is the edible gift that just keeps on giving. Not only for us, but also the Big 12, Brett Yormark, and beyond. Speaking of giving, he just gave every single assistant a minimum of a 2-year extension, as well as an instant pay raise for every single person on staff, while also refusing to adjust his contract for more money or more duration. He didn't touch his contract. He said, no, let's pay everybody. Let's give everybody extension. Let's leave mine be. So Mike Gundy has haters. I was definitely one of them. But y'all should join me. Jump over to the light side, the right side, dare I say, the bright side. America's brightest orange side. This is a destination job now, and it secretly kind of has been for quite a while. Stability adds comfortability. Stability adds discipline. Stability has structure. Stability is certainty. Certainty that no longer exists in college football. Really, And certainly you can bet your bottom dollar that it matters now more than ever. Less high school kids are being recruited, evaluated, or even scouted. It's all about the transfer portal now. So if you're a parent, a trainer, or a high school coach, don't you want that certainty, that consistency, that stability? Don't you want what Oklahoma State can provide when it comes to structure for your athlete and student to flourish, not only on but off the football field? Does any worthy athletic department need stability? Yes. Guys, Oklahoma State is the current definition of stability, which is why coming to Oklahoma State inherently means more opportunities and, more importantly, security. Send your kid to someone who cares so much that they would rather stay in Stillwater than be bound somewhere else. They care so much they would rather move positions and stay in Stillwater instead of leaving. Just like the 21 starters and 91% of the roster that also decided that anything in Stillwater, Oklahoma was better than being promised everything under the moon elsewhere. We talked the other day about how the cornerback room only has 10 dudes. And numerically, that might be a little bit of a cause for concern. But then I realized we have no reason to be concerned because of the coaching staff. We're getting compared to Iowa a lot. And whenever you look at longevity, Oklahoma State's Mike Gundy, Utah's Kyle Whittingham, there's a lot of similarities. And when you look at Utah's coaching staff, they do have a decent amount of dudes that have been there for over a decade, which is a very big deal. Same goes for Iowa. But then when you look at some of the other high-tenured coaches in college football, like Dabo Swinney at Clemson, Dave Doeren at NC State, Mark Stoops at Kentucky, those guys do not have the same things that we do at Oklahoma State. And Kyle Whittingham just basically announced his head coach in waiting, his successor. So whenever he takes over, are they still going to be able to keep that same crew together? We don't know. What we do know is that the guys like staying for Mike Gundy, which is why our coaching staff has been here for so long. Again, Iowa has some guys that have been there for 7 years, 11 years, 13 years, as does Utah. But when you look at Oklahoma State in comparison to those, it's not even close. Like Oklahoma State has their coaches so dialed in that you've got Kasey Dunn, 14 years. You've got Bob Clements that has been here for well over a decade now. And he was one of the ones that I mentioned that went from defensive line to linebackers while having several other opportunities at other schools. Tim Duffie has been here for the better part of a decade. You go up and down the board. I think Tim Duffie's 12 years in here. Guys, Todd Bradford, the recruiting expert and guru, has been here for over a decade. Gary Gibbs, the OU legend, is an analyst who's been here for almost a decade. Greg Brown's been here forever. I mean, before we could even blink, guys, Coach Jason McIndoe's been here for a decade. Coach Dan Hammerschmidt's been here for over a decade. Coach Tim Duffie, we just mentioned, is on year 12. And the analysts are the same. The coordinators are the same. The GAs want to stay. Tracy Wallace has been here for years. J.W. Wallace has been here for years, and they both played here on top of it. What Oklahoma State has in the recruiting game is different than most everybody else. How long is Iowa going to be able to continue to maintain with Kirk Ferentz? How long is Kyle Whittingham going to be able to keep that same staff together when they know that this is likely Kyle Whittingham's final year? We're not hearing that at Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy's not leaving anytime soon. After what he was able to do last season, I'm sure he even found a completely new love for the game, buying him another 5, 6, 7 years of Mike Gundy running the show in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Of course, this is that season of capitalization. We can take these metrics that we have in recruiting that 95% of other teams in the country do not have, and if it has a Big 12 title behind it, if it has a CFP appearance behind it, to me, that is the stamp of validation. That is the brand that will never, ever go away. Mike Gundy has got us to this point. And when he does sprinkle in new guys, it's out of a necessity. The necessity of the season is to win, i.e. the move of Greg Richmond to Paul Randolph, i.e. the announcement of Sean Snyder coming in. Mike Gundy understands where we are. And I think that more people nationally need to understand that if you're a high school kid or you're a transfer and you're looking to go somewhere in this chaotic landscape, you should probably go somewhere that doesn't have a bunch of chaos, that doesn't have a bunch of distractions, that doesn't have a bunch of unnecessary craziness surrounding it. The lights, cameras, and action happen on Saturdays in Stillwater. Other than that, it's about getting down to business. Everybody wanted to come back for a reason. It is far deeper than just wanting to win games and wear rings and have trophies at home. It's because of the Cowboy culture, the camaraderie, the buy-in, the close-knit relationship, the fact that our strength coach has been here for 29 years. We've got analysts that have been here for 19 years in the recruiting department. We have coaches that have been here for 14 years, 13 years, 12 years, 10 years. Somebody who's only been at Oklahoma State for like 7 years, like a Charlie Dickey, he's still considered a new coach. How crazy is that? How blessed are we as Oklahoma State fans to finally be at this level? Not only do we have an exorbitant amount of 310, 320, 350-pound dudes, we also have coaches that care so much that they would rather stay than take more money elsewhere or higher opportunities even elsewhere. Jim Knowles is an outlier. But how many times did we go through the Jim Knowles scenario year after year after year, as opposed to now, where if you coach at Oklahoma State, we feel pretty good about you staying at Oklahoma State. Just like we all feel good about where the safety room is, especially in conjunction with the coaches. You should also feel good about the money-making department that Oklahoma State is going to provide you this season, which is why you need to get hooked up with FanDuel today. The bee's knees in betting needs to be your go-to app on your phone right here, right now. Make sure that you get it squared away, because we do understand the summer months do not provide as many opportunities to cash out, to make the cash is king. FanDuel is going to help you keep the sports going pretty much whenever you want. All you got to do is open the app, dream up bets, and bet on whatever your mood decides. This summer, FanDuel's hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus every single day. So there's something in this for everyone every day, all summer long. Make sure that you head on over to FanDuel.com. Start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is the official sportsbook betting partner of Major League Baseball. As Oklahoma State is dealing with some of these off-field antic stuff, you may have seen some of the numbers shift up a little bit. So make sure that you do, in fact, go hammer the over on the Cowboys. Again, guys, thank you very much for coming by, making this your first listen. Before you skedaddle, make sure you go make your second listen. Locked On Baylor. Guys, Cameron Stewart took over for Drake Toll, and they just had a very big get in the commitment cycle. And as if you've recently seen, maybe there's some predictions that have Michael Turner Jr. Baylor bound. So make sure you go check out Locked On Baylor to get the scoop on what the Bears have rocking and rolling. Meanwhile, we get to shift into a position that is so loaded with leadership and talent and depth that the coaching is almost insignificant. Now, of course, we're going to take Coach Dan Hammerschmidt's decade plus. We're going to take Coach Duffie's decade plus, and we're going to take Joe Bob's instrumental utilization of not only the defensive line concepts, but now at linebacker. We have the keys to success, whether it be coaching or playing. But this is one of the biggest benefits to the season is this safety group. This safety group is what we know we can lean on, just as much as we know we can lean on the linebackers, which I guess you could sprinkle in here as well, because this is about leadership. The leadership of this safety room is what's going to allow these coaches to kick back, relax, and focus on some of the minute details as opposed to some of the broad scheme stuff. Of course, Kendall Daniels is going to steal the show, especially with the conversations of him bulking up to 240 pounds and what he's going to be able to show off with that. Lyric Rawls, this is the time. Lyric was catching fire at the beginning last season before injury. Cameron Apps, 6'2", 205 pounds. We know what he can do in the back end. Now we need to see what he can do with a little bit more size and a little bit more speed. Parker Robertson, earned himself a scholarship spot and a new number 8 because he is the guy on special teams that was always in the picture that would do whatever you ask, run through the wall, which is something coaches try to covet. Trey Rucker, I know that he had a little bit of a lingering thing, but now that he's ready to fully run dudes down, this is going to be a big season for him. But he's a fifth-year senior. So you've got a fifth-year junior, you've got a fifth-year senior, a fourth-year junior, another fourth-year junior. Then you have Dylan Smith, who got a lot of playing time, 6 foot, 190 pounds. Ty Williams is going to be a major part of this rolling forward, especially in the special teams. He's a redshirt junior. Willie Nelson comes in, brings the name. He's also set to bring the pain, even at 5'8". Tywan Ray. We've talked about him ad nauseum. I do think that Tywan Ray at 6 foot, 205 pounds is going to be one of the biggest names on this roster within the next few seasons. Kobe Hilton has been huge in any of the times that Trey Rucker needed to take an extra breather. Kobe Hilton's been able to slide right in. You expect that out of a senior, of course. But you see the youth gravitate towards these guys, and you are seeing that. Raymond Gay II, a redshirt junior that has been here for quite some time. Got David Kabongo's a new cat, but we know that Texas gave him an offer because of his talent level. Garrick Martin just continues to be a redshirt senior that puts his head down and goes to work every single day. Grab the lunch pail, go to work, go to war. He's that guy. Now you have Reed Kwesi in the mix coming over from OU. The OU legend legacy nephew is 6 foot, 205 pounds. This leadership is absolute insanity. And then again, if you just wanted to help Joe Bob out here, right? We know what we get in Nick Martin, who's a redshirt junior. We know what we are going to get in Jeff Robertson, who we expect to play a crap ton this season, a redshirt senior. I guess in Moon's the energy guy. Colin Oliver's a senior. Gabe Brown's been in the system for a few years now. Justin Wright is a 6-year senior. Chris Robinson's already played JUCO ball, so he gets it at a completely different level than most of the young guys. The leadership is going to guide this ball club, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So whereas the leadership might be a little lacking just numerically at cornerback, we will have the coaches to counterbalance that. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the safety coaches can sit back, relax, and drink a Mai Tai or two because the leadership in the locker room has them covered, which is such a massive benefit as a coach. Because then you get to worry about the minute, like little bitty sniper level things, as opposed to the spray and pray, hope we get it right level things. Last season was a decent amount of spray and pray, which is also why the verbal communication to this season should be able to showcase these Cowboys in a completely different way as well. There's a lot of verbiage that, everybody had to get used to last season. On top of having more twists, more stunts, more movement, more blitzing from different areas, while also having to find creative ways to be more beneficial than usual in zone. Guys, what had me excited about this defense last season was the fact that although for the first 3 quarters, Brian Nardo did give up a lot of yards, Brian Nardo's defense got stops to win several fourth quarter ball games. So without Brian Nardo figuring out a way, X's and O's, gap responsibility, man placement areas, he found ways in fourth quarters to win ball games. And it's one of the hardest things to do. Typically, it's the opposite. You can get a pretty decent coordinator, be pretty good for a few quarters, and then fall apart in the fourth. Brian Nardo was the opposite. It was struggle. Okay, I figured something out. Now let's go do it. I figured something out. Let's go do it. That now is permeated through the entire team for the upcoming season. This senior leadership and the off-field obstacles that Ollie Gordon just presented, I think, was more of a galvanization moment for the locker room. If there was any hesitancy or reservations, I know words are hard for me, about a lingering effect of not taking South Dakota State seriously enough, that's all gone. And it's because of this leadership group. Next season, we're going to talk about a lot of talent, but it's going to be a lot of young talent. This season is the exact opposite. So as much as we're going to need the coaches to help out the cornerbacks, we're going to need the safeties and the linebackers to lean less on the coaches, to free them up to do so many other things, to maybe focus more on some of the developmental guys and have some of these older veterans not only show the young cats the ropes of how to operate day-to-day in Stillwater, Oklahoma as a Cowboy in the Cowboy culture, but also how to get it done on the field and have the high expectations. Again, do we remember winning 7 games and beating OU as the Super Bowl, the 1945 party that could live on for 365 days? Those are gone. I think it's a badge of honor to say that if we win 7 games now, that is a absolute travesty, a massive disappointment. Something went catastrophically wrong if we only win 7 games. The wins, the metrics, and EA Sports and all that, this stuff does matter. In this landscape of recruiting, you've got to see the senior leadership that's willing to stick in it for 3, 4, 5, 6 years to create these moments. So for whatever reservations the cornerbacks might bring, just numerically, it's okay because of the coaches. And the coaches get to sit back and enjoy the safety and linebacker room for an almost completely different reason. All right, we have a completely new update on Cowboys getting drafted. Of course, yesterday we got to talk about baseball, adding a few more dudes. Well, they weren't the only ones, as we have a couple more Cowboys get taken on the final day of the draft. You have the Penn State transfer and Tommy Molsky. Tommy Molsky had some moments this season. Without him, we would have not have won a Big 12 title. We would have not beaten OU as many times as we did. So this is good to see. He was picked up in the 12th round by the Kansas City Royals, followed by Ryan Ure in the 19th round by the San Francisco Giants. This is 72 Cowboys drafted in Major League Baseball, and 8 Cowboys is the 7th most in program history, a rich history. Tommy Molsky came to Oklahoma State after Penn State. He had a 6-3 record, which is actually somewhat deceptive because there was a couple games there where he only gave up a couple hits, but we just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. 4.8 ERA. And again, as the season progressed, he just got better and better and better, ending with him being an all Big 12 honorable mention. This is a great get. I'm excited for him. And Orion, we never really saw his full potential because he had to recover from Tommy John, missing like a year and a half, virtually almost 2 years. He was drafted in the 16th round out of high school, but his 4.19 ERA at Oklahoma State definitely shows us that there's some viability in this draft pick here, right? And then additionally, the main man, the big homie, friend of the show, and multiple-time guest, Xavier Benson, was drafted in the UFL in the 7th round by the Houston Roughnecks. Pretty cool for him. Ironically enough, so the last conversation I had with him was, kind of stinks about the draft. It looks like you're going to have some UFA opportunities, but nonetheless, you're gonna be one of the main gets for the UFL. He didn't send me a message back, so I didn't know if maybe he didn't like that comment about UFL bound. But here he is. I expect him to make the most of it. And the UFL, if done right, appears to be like a now legitimate version of minor leagues. Previously, if you weren't quite NFL level, you went to the CFL and you played a lot of Canadian football. But I think the UFL can now be that farm system style of thing that we haven't exactly had before. And this last iteration of the XFL before the COVID stuff got in the way was actually pretty fun. And it was really cool to see some of the players, Oklahoma State and whomever else, like watching Jason Bean. That's going to be pretty daggone cool. Drake Stoops, you say what you want about him as a dude, but him as a football player, still pretty fun to watch. So this is a good thing for Xavier. It extends his playing career. It keeps him healthy, gives him more film, and gives him another opportunity to showcase why maybe he should have been picked up by an NFL team as a unsigned free agent. Nonetheless, it's a big deal for Xavier Benson, just like it's a big deal for all of these Cowboys to get drafted in baseball. Guys, make sure that you go check out our friends at Locked On Baylor. And if you're feeling kind of frisky, Locked On Wisconsin Badgers, Locked On Badgers. He had an episode the other day where he was talking about Bryson Green being an integral part of their success for this season and possibly being number 2 as far as the receivers are rocking and rolling in whiskey country. Feel free to check those out. But until next time, I greatly appreciate you making this your first listen. As always, God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here in Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Like it if you like the daggone thing. Dislike it if you don't, because that's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. All right, y'all. That's all, folks. AKA later taters.